Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Bible Study Minute. Today we're taking a look at 2 Kings chapters 22 and 23. And in these chapters, we are shown the reign of King Josiah. And King Josiah comes in stark contrast to what we saw in the previous chapters with King Manasseh, who plunged Israel into sin and idolatry on a level that had never been done before. But then we see Josiah as a king who takes the throne at 8 years of age, is someone who is observing the Lord's ways and doing whatever he can to follow after him. So there came a point in his life where he decided that it was time to make some repairs to the temple. And as he's doing this, the book of the law is found. So the book of the law is then read to Josiah, and Josiah's response is interesting. He tears his clothes, and he recognizes that God is about to do something in the land of Judah. He's going to bring his hand of discipline because he sees all the curses that were promised in Deuteronomy 28 are about to take place. And he seeks godly counsel for what they can do about this. And the prophetess tells him that there's really nothing that you can do to stop God from bringing his wrath against his people, because their sins need to be punished. And that's just what it's going to be. But it's not going to happen during your lifetime. But in response to this, Josiah decides to do something drastic. And what he decides to do is bring sweeping reform throughout Judah and its extending territory. So what he does is he gathers all the people, reads the book of the law to them, and makes a covenant in the presence of the Lord that they are going to walk in the ways of the Lord. And then he goes out through the entire land, removing all of the high places, all the idols, all the prostitution. Pretty much any and everything that was evil in the sight of the Lord was removed from Judah in the land of Israel. And all that was left was things that were pleasing to the Lord. And then we see towards the end of this, our reading today, is that the Passover is observed. And then we're told that the Passover had not been observed since before the time of the judges up until now. So basically, until the time of Joshua, when they first settled the Promised Land, from that time all the way up until now, which is hundreds of years, the Passover had not been observed. But now it's finally being observed, even though it's supposed to be something that Israel was supposed to observe every single year. So what we see after this is ultimately that things go back to the way they were after Josiah's death. His son takes the throne and takes Israel back to their sin and idolatry. So what's our takeaway from this? Ultimately, it's that Josiah did everything that he was supposed to do. He followed the Lord, he brought in reform, and did all of that. But here's the kicker. We cannot legislate God's law and behavior change in people's hearts. It has to be done in the heart. We can't legislate God's ways and expect people to live a godly life. We may want to do that, and in many ways it's a right thing to do, but just having laws and means in place to make people live a godly life is not going to change their hearts, because we see immediately after Josiah's death, things go back to the way they were because nobody had a changed heart. So for us, what we need to do is we need to pray to the Lord to open the eyes of people to change their hearts, because that's ultimately what's going to allow them to change their ways and to no longer walk in the path of sin, death, and destruction. So that's your takeaway from today's passage. And ultimately, just know that living a godly life is fulfilling and rewarding, and living like Josiah is definitely a good way to go. So that's all I have for now. Until next time, grace and peace.